Just as the field of IoT is quite vast itself, the security aspects are also quite important. That's because our lives and working environments are ever more connected. That is why the European Union and others mandate to meet certain cybersecurity and infrastructure security thresholds in order to sell IoT-enabled products within their territories. Since the IoT involves various kinds of hardware and software aspects, this readily implies that the security applies to each layer of employment. Depending on the level of security needed, everything from connections with terminal devices till the applications and databases needs separate considerations for security to make the whole system secure. The security spectrum also includes the security of external service providers. In fact, every element that has anything to do with our system needs being considered for security to improve the overall security standing of the whole ecosystem. By and large, the security in any system can be regarded as a composition of layers of defense, with each layer making the overall security arrangements manageable and limiting the impacts if any breach within another layer happens. This includes physically protecting connections and wires from being tapped and preventing eavesdropping by any unwanted person, protecting system-level elements by using secure libraries, operating systems and firewalls, and protecting the applications and data through secure configurations and cryptographically secure encryption techniques. As an introduction, there are two types of cryptographic algorithms used for encryption and decryption of data. Encryption means to make data in a gibberish form so that none other can understand it, and decryption is the process to getting back the original data. The classification here is based on the key that is used for encryption and decryption. If the key for encryption is the same as is used for decryption, then it is called symmetric key cryptography. In contrast, if the key used to encrypt data is different from the key used to decrypt data, then it is called asymmetric key cryptography. As a side note, asymmetric key is also called public key crypto, in which the two keys are named as private key and public key. Both have their certain usages. The symmetric key algorithms are quite fast in doing encryptions and decryptions. But the problem is how to share the keys with other devices and changing them. On the other hand, asymmetric key algorithms are quite slow, but they don't have the problem of key exchange, because there are two keys named private and public keys. The public key is transmitted without any issues, as anything that is encrypted with it can only be decrypted with the corresponding private key. Generally, both the types of algorithms work in conjunction with each other. Initially, public key algorithms are used to generate unique session key and exchanged with the relevant parties. Then that is used to leverage the better speeds of symmetric key algorithms throughout the rest of the communication. This itself is quite a vast topic and a specialty in itself. Thus we conclude our discussion by mentioning some of the very commonly used algorithms within each category. Out of these, AES, DES, DSA and RSA are perhaps the most commonly used ones. Overall, the process starts when two parties want to securely communicate with each other. To support the validity of the communication, commonly there is a trusted third party that comes into play to make the whole process secure. In the third-party system, there are PKI and PGP as the most common options. If you use SSL certificates in your websites, then you are already using PKI. Now the first party begins by sending its public key to the intended second party. As there is a chance that someone in between the two parties could change the public key with another one to eavesdrop on the communication, so the recipient of the public key asks the third party about the validity of the received public key. If the key is really valid one, then the third party tells the querying party that yes, it is the valid public key of the first party. Now the second party generates a random key that it wants to use for symmetric key cryptographic algorithm for faster communication for the rest of the session. The second party encrypts the generated key and algorithm information with the public key of the first party and sends it. Since it is encrypted with the public key of the first party, it can only be decrypted with the private key of the first party. Upon receiving the information, the first party decrypts it, and with it both the parties know which symmetric key algorithm should be used for further communication and the key that will be used for the rest of the session. This is pretty much the same process that is used when you use HTTPS-enabled websites in your browsers, and is the backbone of modern communications. Additional to the cryptographic communications and storage of data, there are 4 things that should be given additional importance. First one is securing the network of devices at all the levels from physical wires up to the application level. For example, if someone in a company has no work to do within the server room to perform his or her job functions, then their access should not be allowed there to ensure physical security of networks. Secondly, within the applications and physical access to servers and infrastructure, the principle of least privilege must be applied. This means to allow anyone in a system the minimum set of rights and privileges that are just enough to perform their job functions. Nothing more, nothing less. Additionally, there are extra securities that are provided by operating systems through proper configurations and using firewalls either on a server itself or as a separate system to protect the internal devices from unwanted network traffic. Lastly, while developing applications at all the levels from microcontrollers up to the server-level backend applications, there are certain coding practices published by many authorities on the subject. Incorporating these practices within a company's culture can enhance the security posture tremendously. Cybersecurity is an ongoing battle, and when the spectrum is too broad, it makes securing systems even more challenging. One size does not fit all, and that is also true in this field. The first thing is to define the scope and potential threats that can be faced. Even then, the minimum level of security can be achieved by using these common practices and making them part of our daily lives.